So, how do those who've lived in Britain for a while feel about the Prime Minister's plans to curb EU migration? Sebastian Meller first came to the United Kingdom from Poland with his family over a decade ago. He started out loading lorries in a warehouse and now owns a restaurant in Birmingham. He told Sky News why he thinks migrants want to come here.
I'm not interested what the British government is trying to set up. Just my opinion is about the Polish people, the people from my country. If they come here, they come definitely to get the job, not the benefits. That's my opinion. And the friends which I have, they're working, they have businesses, and they're making the money for the families. They're not waiting on any money from the British government or from the sky. That's it.
Well, Harjap Singh Bhangal is an immigration lawyer and joins us now. Harjap, we understand why the Prime Minister is saying these things, we understand the political realities of it, but what are the practicalities of it? Can David Cameron do that which he says he can?
Well, he technically can if Europe agrees to it. There will be challenges, as there are to other legislation in other countries. In Germany, they've got, if you don't learn German within 6 months of coming as a migrant, they can stop your benefits. That can be potentially challenged. And similar things will happen here. But it can be achieved, even if Europe don't agree to it, it can be achieved through secondary legislation as well. So amendment to immigration rules, etc. So it's doable. Whether he'll carry it out or not is something else.
Well, the political realities of dealing with 20 or 27 other member states who all have their own interest in safeguarding EU treaties is one thing. You mentioned their challenges. By what do you mean by that? Are we talking under the European Convention on Human Rights?
We are. We're talking about human rights legislation, challenges in Strasbourg, in the European Court. It could go to a various number of courts, and just to basically say, well, hold on, this isn't fair. And it isn't fair on migrants as a whole. Why shouldn't migrants, someone from the EU, be entitled to the same rights as a British citizen?
Isn't the problem for someone like David Cameron looking at the threat that's coming from UKIP, as we have had since 1972, since that Act was passed, Parliament is no longer sovereign. There is a layer of legislation that can be passed down to the United Kingdom from on high, which we can do little or nothing about.
It's not controllable. It's not something that we can... Once you give up your powers to the European Union, then obviously they reign supreme, and you have to go by what the rest of Europe is going by. The only way to come out of that would be to opt out of Europe.
So you think the only way that David Cameron can actually get what he wants is to come out of the European Union, then go back in?
That's one way, or he can just say to them, well, hold on, we want to do things differently, we'll just amend a treaty. So we do it here. Or he can introduce legislation here in the UK, so the immigration rules take effect, and that takes precedent over the European law.
But isn't it the case that, for decades now, we have seen the English courts interpreting legislation in line with that which they see coming from Brussels? So you're essentially asking, the English courts to go back to the drawing board, ignore all the case law that was developed over the past 30 years, and 40 years in fact, and plough a new furrow.
What you've got to do is ask judges to ignore case law, and I don't think that's really going to happen. Judges are going to rule what's in the interest of the legal system. So therefore, it's going to be hard to convince judges to ignore legislation and case law history altogether. He's got a tough fight on his hands.
It's perhaps not quite as easy as the Prime Minister was making it.
It never is.
Indeed. Harjap, thanks very much.